This is Sangam A, Chapter 5. I'm going to discuss you in this chapter about the South Indian kingdoms such as Cholas, Cheras, and the Pandyas, and what Sangam Age mean, why it is called Sangam Age. That I will discuss you here in this chapter number 5. That is Sangam Age. Basically, you need to understand what Sangam means. So, literally means union. It was an assembly or union of Tamil poet. So, Sangam here means a union where the Tamil poets got together to write something or to compose something. So, that was done a union work, not as individual or a single work. Sangam age refers to the period when bulk of Tamil literature was composed by a body of Tamil scholars and poets in three successive literary gatherings called Sangam. So it not happened in one form or in one stage only. It happened in the three successive meeting. That was first Sangam, second Sangam, and the third Sangam. So this is what given here. The maximum work was done when these meeting happened, and it happened in a different places. And it was that first and the second century, that is the time period when it happened, when this meeting were happened. What was the time era? That was the first and the second century when these important meeting or the gathering held. So Sangam age existed from first century and continued for the second century, but all the compiling work, writing work were composed, written down later on after the third century. So basically what literary content is there, what writers wrote about, what were the themes. So that was grammar, poems, and the epic. So on these ground the writers have written or composed. Now basically it describes about the Pandya, Cheras, and the Cholas. So these are were the rival kingdom about whom the Sangam literature, when you will go through the Sangam literature, the sources, we come to know about these important rulers, the kingdoms, and they were known as the Pandya, Cheras, and the Cholas. And they were the rival kingdom, I mean to say here, they had no mutual understanding with each other. They had always a war battle with against each other for their supremacy. Now what is the importance of Sangam age or the literature here of this period? So the literature informs us about the contemporary economy like agriculture, how it was developed, and surplus production. So it deals with how the economy it was there of that time, what type of the people were there, how they were surviving with the method of living. So that deals how we get the idea, we get the source of information of the people of that time, that era, or that kingdom. Now one thing you also should know, that the Brahmin enjoyed the highest position during that time. And as in the North India, the Brahmins were very important and played a very important role here, but Kshatriya also did a good job in the Northern India, but that was missing in the South Indian kingdom. You will find Kshatriya was no more there, but only the Brahmins, and the second position was occupied by the Vaishyas, who were other important one. Now coming to the three kingdoms, when you will come to know that there were basically three kingdoms, that is your Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, and always had a fight among themselves. Later on when you will go to the chapter, you will see that the Cheras finally got the supremacy over the Cholas and the Pandyas. Now here I will discuss you about the three stages of the Sangam. The first Sangam, second Sangam, and the third Sangam. So this is what here the first Sangam held in the Madurai, and it is said that God himself came here to attend this meeting, and but we have no literary work available for this account of the Sangam period. Sangam, the first Sangam when it happened. So but it is important to understand the legend, as we are told that it was attended by God himself. Now second was attended by the several poet. Many poet attended here. They have composed many work, but unfortunately we don't have, nothing remained with us as a evidences. One of the book is what, Tolkappiyam, a book on grammar. So this is what the grammar book which was written by Tolkappiyam. Somehow it has survived, which we have some amount of sources, we get some evidences about that. Now third Sangam again held in the Madurai, and it was attended by many poets, and the vast literature was composed and held in the Madurai, but only few written accounts are available. Here also we need to understand, but there were so many things written down, but unfortunately we don't have so many evidences as that. Some books are there of which we got the evidences and the things we come to know today. So literary works that you will study about the Tirukural. Now coming to the sources about the Sangam age, Tirukural, it is a Tiruvalluvar who has composed this book, Tirukural, and many literary work during this period it was written and it was mentioned here. It is found in, from this book we come to know about the culture about the Tirukural. Now he was a Tamil poet and a philosopher. Who we are talking about, Tiruvalluvar. He was a Tamil poet and a philosopher who has written Tirukural. And what are the things in the Tirukural? It consists of the compound teaching, not any one particular, that it belongs to Dharmashastra, Arthashastra and Kam Sutra. So he has not written about any one thing. He has dealt with so many topic here. And one thing you need to know, Tirukural is one of the 18 minor work of the Sangam literature. There was such a big vast written material there, compound work, but out of that 18 minor, the small things which were composed, out of 18 minor, Tirukural is one of 18. So please don't get confused that it is such a vast. There were so many composed work there, and out of that 18 minor work, Tirukural is what, one of the 18. Now it also deal with the many aspect of life and religion of that period, like features. What are the important features of Tirukural? Written in the couplet form and organized into 133 chapter. So here again I need to mention that Tirukural, there are 133 chapters, and in each chapter it deal with one particular topic, and it is written in which form? Couplet form, as in the Kabir has written in the Doha form. So that is whatever the material is there, the writing work has been done in the couplet form. I have explained you about the chapter, that each chapter deal with one particular chapter. So as for example, if one chapter is dealing with the agriculture, then how the plowing of land was done, what were the major strategy regarding the fertility of the land area and other thing. Or in the other chapter, if it is dealing with the ruling of a country, then how a king should be, how a king should rule, all these things can be dealt. So what I mean to say, that 1 to 3 chapter, they will deal specifically with a particular topic. So all the chapter will not deal with one single topic. So now again, when you will go through the book regarding the sources, so this is 133 chapters are divided into 3 sections, and that is what? Number 1, Aram, that is your righteousness. Number 2, Porul, and number 3, Imbam. The first and the second, that is your public, that is your private affair, that is deals with the private personal life of the person, how they should have a right judgment of the living, how they should live. And the Imbam, that is common pleasure, what should be the pleasure way, what should be the way of the living the family life and other things. Now coming to the wealth, we come to know with the public affair, how to deal and gain the wealth publicly. So what are the areas where they can do the work and to gain the wealth. So this is basically 3 sections that the Tirukural has been divided. One is Aram, second is Porul, and third is Imbam. The first and the third is with the personal life of the person, while the second, that is the Porul, it deals with the wealth. So person has to come out and deal with the public. This is what given here. So coming to your megalith, the second source of information regarding the Sangame, that is your megalith. Megalith is generally the Greek word which means mega. Mega means the great, and the lithos means the stone. So here I mean to say that the stones were rest upon each other, one upon the, it was a burial site. So it generally refers to the burial site or made of a large stone in a graveyard away from the habitation area. So where the people were living, in those areas the things were not made. So these megaliths were made away from the place where the native were living. So and how it was made, the stone one upon resting each other. So this was what? Box like structure erected one on other without any mortar or a cementing item. So it was resting, it how they have made in that manner, so that the stone were not falling also, and it was placed very perfectly. So one thing we need to know, what is the importance of this megalith. It depicts two, we can understand the two things. Either it must be using for the burial site or place for burying the people, or some commemorative memorial, like importance, like if there is a king or any important person, he has died, so some signpost must have been placed. So these are the people are trying to find out what exactly it means. So this is what stone placed to depict for some important memories. So this is how they were making the megalith. Now stones or the boulders were placed on the surface as a signpost. Some big stones were placed there, so that people, if they wanted to come to that particular that place again, so they can find out that particular boulder or the same stone and come there. They can come to that position or a place. Now in the second point, you see the some megalith have more than one skeleton, which indicate that people of the same family must have been buried in the same place, though the time period may be different. Here I want to explain you that if in one megalith there are more than one skeleton, that shows that the family member, though they have died in a different period, one after the other, but the place have been chosen as a single place, so that the same family member can be buried in one single place or the same place. Okay, so this is what shows that a joint burying must be done. So that particular place was a symbol. Now the next point we deal, apart from the body, megalith also contain grave good including pottery and iron object. This also shows the use of these items during Sangam age. So apart from the body, along with the body, there were certain item put with the body, that is pottery and the iron item, that shows that the people believed in the life after death. As we have seen in the Indus time also, people had those kind of things put in the graveyard. Now religious belief also we come to know through the sources of megalith. How? Because in some of the megalith we got the trident, that is trishul what we say. So it was also there, as in the some grave tridents have been found, which shows belief in the Lord Shiva. So trishul, we just tried to have a symbol of a Lord Shiva, so that show that the people believed in South India for the Lord Shiva, which was put along with the body, that is a trident or a trishul. Now renowned historian Champa Kala Lakshmi, she has also mentioned about the Velid settlement during the megalith stay period. Now megalith, so Velid account here, I mean to say Velid were the people living together. So they were generally the people of subsistent type, that means the growing, just common people living in a not surplus production, just growing the crops, eating and surviving. They, what were the major work for them? Cattle rearing and fishing. They use iron for tools and the warfare. These all we come to know. So we come, basically we come to know all those kind of features of the people during the Sangam age from the Tirukural and the megalith. So please go through the chapter and read it thoroughly. Thank you.